Before we actually start working through the main subject of this course, I thought I'd take this first video to sort of introduce Marvelous Designer and explain and demonstrate very quickly what it can do and what it's capable of, and hopefully illustrate how it can be useful not only for production but also for game development. Now, Marvelous Designer has been around for quite a while now, and a lot of people still haven't heard about it, but it's becoming something that's being used more and more. It was used on The Hobbit. I know Weta Digital use it quite a lot, and even game studios are starting to adopt it as well. What Marvelous Designer is, when you boil it down, it's basically a cloth simulation tool, for want of a better word. You define the patterns in here, just like you would a normal, if in real life, a tailor, if a tailor was building a dress or an item of clothing, they'd work from proper patterns. So you define the patterns in this window, and then they are automatically draped onto your avatar, who is pretty much just like a mannequin. You can then play around and pull around the garment so that it fits nicely and as you expect, before you then export it. And you can export just a basic mesh, which can then be taken into Maya or another application so that you can use it for an illustration. You can even export animation as well. Like I say, you could export a model and you could use it to bake normal maps onto a lower res game model. So you can get all these nice natural creases and folds in the cloth, which would take forever to sculpt, and bake those down onto a low resolution model quite easily and quite simply. So just a quick demonstration. If I click this button here, that's just going to reset all the panels, and don't worry about any of this or any of these buttons I'm clicking now. We will cover those in more depth as we progress. But basically that's just reset these back to the default place where the user has defined they should begin the simulation. Now, where you place them is quite important, but again, I'm not going to get into that now. We'll talk about that later on. So just to demonstrate, I'm just going to quickly create a rectangular piece of cloth there. And it's not showing up in here just yet because we need to sync these two windows. So I'll just click this button here and that appears over here. And then we can come in here and we can rotate this, you know, position it how we want. Let's maybe put it above her head. And then when we want all this to start to simulate and work together, we click this button here. As you can see, all that clothing has just snapped together. Our extra piece here has just fallen on her head, and we can move around in here. We can look at the clothing, we can see how it's looking, and it's still being simulated. So if we wanted to, we could say, oh well, we don't really want that on her head like that, so let's just pull this over like so. Maybe that's more what we want. So you can interact with the cloth as it's being simulated. Maybe this dress needs to be pulled down a little bit here. Maybe we need to pull these areas up to protect her modesty. Or maybe she wants a bit off the shoulder. But you can interact with the cloth then. Then you can stop the simulation, you can come back in here. In fact, you don't need to stop the simulation. Let's say we wanted this strap here to be shorter. We could just select that, bring that down, and it's automatically updated in the window here. Do the same that side. And again, that strap's shorter. It's almost being stretched now. But the cloth is constantly being updated. So that's how I hope you can see it could be useful. It's quite intuitive, it's very quick to just throw garments around and get some very nice results. I mean, the creases and folds coming off that on her head there, they're quite nice, they're quite natural. What we could also do is, if those folds aren't exactly what we like, you can change what type of fabric it is. So you could have it like leather, so it's a lot more rigid, or cotton, so it's a lot more flexible, maybe even silk. But all that sort of stuff we're going to investigate as we move through the tutorial. But yeah, that's a brief introduction to Marvelous Designer, what it can do, and I'm hoping as you work through the tutorial you come up with your own ideas and you can see how you can work it into your own pipeline. So I think we'll leave this here, and what we'll do in the next video is just quickly look at the avatar editor and see about bringing in your own characters, as well as using the ones which come with Marvelous Designer itself.